Why are billionaires selling shares? Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Insights brought to you by Ainslie Bullion and the Gold and Silver Standard. Today, you welcome back Sam with the markets hitting new highs, but the big boys appear to be selling out some of their shares. So, do they know something we don't know, maybe, or what's going on? I'm not quite sure, but that's why we've got you on here today. How are you going today, Sam?
Good, Chris. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. So you talked in the article today about Jamie Dimon specifically, one of those, biggest of the big billionaires out there selling some of his shares in the last few weeks. His peers are saying this is because he's retiring. So it's like nothing to see here. He's retiring soon, just, wants to put some money in the bank. What do you think about that?
Well, he is retiring soon. So look, that could be a factor. The thing is, though, you have to look back and, Jamie Dimon has been navigating JPMorgan Chase through some difficult situations. So if you look back at 2008, the last major financial crisis, how many shares did he sell leading up to that or during that? Well, the answer is zero. So he didn't sell any. So either either this is going to be a very, very big event coming up, or he's just decided to change his mind and really fully focus on retirement. And this is the first time in 18 years he's sold shares, and he's sold 8.6 million shares. Now, some people say, oh, it's just because he's retiring, and he's actually really positive about the market outlook. But all you have to do is Google search what he's been saying in recent months. We were talking about it as well on this program, and I put a link in the article as well. But he's been openly negative. He's been talking about stagflation. He's even been talking about rates. He was throwing out the figure of 7% rates, almost trying to scare the markets into going down. So he's been very openly negative, and now he's sold a bunch of shares. It shouldn't be a surprise.
And you're exactly right. You've been highlighting that for a little while, the negative talk that he has been making about the things you mentioned about whether it's stagflation or higher rates, those things going on. But it's not just him, is it? Because I also noticed that you were talking about Jeff Bezos, who's recently joined in with Amazon shares, and he was selling a significant amount of Amazon shares last week. So surely that's also part of the story. Like, it's not just one person.
Yeah, $240 million in Amazon shares last week. And the big story this week is that was just potentially a warm-up, because according to CNBC, he might be selling 8 to 10 million more shares. So that blows Jamie Dimon's share sale out of the water. And it looks like the big news of Amazon selling last week was just a drop in the water as well, because that's nearly $1 billion in shares that Jeff Bezos will apparently be selling. And the Amazon price took a hit from that. Bezos is quite smart, though. He said he's selling shares so he can help charitable causes. So that's as specific as it was. Who knows if that's the real reason for taking out $1 billion when another billionaire is doing similar things, but that was the reason given.
So that's interesting when you think about the two of them together. But if we bring it back a little bit to some of the economic news around this, the FOMC minutes, for example, they were released and are still looking pretty restrictive based on what I think you've sort of said. Is that playing into it here, do you think?
Yeah, look, they're looking restrictive, but the markets aren't listening.
Yeah.
So, like, if you look at Amazon, the price took a hit right away when Bezos was, said to be selling all these shares, and then it bounced right back up like everything else has. So the market's pricing in a 95% probability that hikes are completely finished. So as far as the markets are concerned, it's all rosy from here. There's no more dip to come, and it's just up forever, or up from here with the share market. So yeah, I'm not sure what's going on, but there's definitely appears to be a dichotomy between these billionaires and then what's actually happening on the charts in response to that.
And that's exactly it. Because based on what you've been saying, you've got the Federal Reserve and effectively the billionaires saying the same thing, like through their actions. So the Federal Reserve probably saying it in words, but the billionaires through their actions, they're concerned about bad news to come. But it appears that there's someone on the other side buying these shares that are still propping them back up, which you would have to assume is the average investor. So I love how you just sort of worded it, up forever. That seems to be the sentiment that's growing here. Is that how you're reading this situation? If we're bringing it all together, they're the people on the other side.
You wonder who's correct. On one side you have, like we talked about, you have some of the biggest billionaires in the world. You have the Federal Reserve, and then on the other side you have let's just say the average Joe investor. Yeah. So who would you put your money on? Well, we won't say. We'll leave it at that. But it's looking very interesting with the billionaires hopping in with the big sales.
It's such a good point. Yeah, it's pretty easy to see when you start to see a pattern emerging like that. This sort of sentiment that people talk about going with the flow or going with the majority, I suppose, who don't necessarily know what they're talking about versus listening to what the market's saying or the people who are determining the market, in the case of the Fed, and what these big billionaires are saying. I mean, it's really fascinating. And I know historically people who don't listen to those key players end up getting burnt. So I think that's really important.
Yep, they end up as exit liquidity for everybody else.
Yes, and you never want to be someone else's exit liquidity. That's a very good point. Well, thank you so much for that today, Sam. Really good overview there of what's going on, and something we'll have to keep an eye on.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, everyone, for watching. Remember, you can reach out with any questions or comments on those social platforms. That's us for today and for this week, and we'll be back next Tuesday with Alex to discuss all things markets and metals. But until then, have a great rest of the week and great weekend, everyone.